Well, hi, everybody. This is Paul. I'm back with my friend George.
Hi.
And George is in a previous video. We met about 2 weeks ago, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And I called the video Working Class Hero. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on George and how we met. Baby May was out walking around one day and met George and his wife. And so Baby May is the biggest procurer of people for me for my channel. She finds interesting people all the time. She says, you should go talk to these people. And so I did. About 2 weeks ago, I met George. We knew each other for 5-10 minutes. And then I did an interview with him. We just kind of figured it out as we went along. And so it turns out that George worked in the real estate profession for 10 years. Is that correct? Was that the right number?
Yeah.
About 10 years?
Maybe 10 or 12 years.
10 or 12
like
years. Separated with his company, did not go back for 2 years via an agreement that he had with the company. Kind of a non-compete thing like we have in America. Like I've had real estate I've had real estate licenses in California and Nevada. And the biggest problem is and this isn't required out here, but George is just a man of his word. In America, as a real estate agent, if I worked for ABC Company and quit, I wasn't allowed to pull their clients with me. Mm-hmm. You know, you're stealing clientele. And so that's sort of what the dynamic was with George here. And again, that's not a law. It's just what he agreed to personally with his previous employer. Right. Hey, I want to leave. I've got my reasons for leaving, and those are between him and his employer. And they said, well, we don't want you, doing anything for 2 years. He said, sure, no problem. And what did he do? He no longer wanted to be associated with that company. And again, those reasons were his, but I know he's a man of integrity. And so for 2 years, you started a farm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we kind of went over that in the first video about how he started a farm. He produces vegetables and chickens and eggs, and he's able to provide for his family, even during the COVID deal. And then he's been able to take the excess produce and whatnot and sell it. And then he's also gotten up every morning and gone out and worked at other things that have become available to put food on the table for his family. Right. Just a nice guy. You are now once again in the real estate game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about that. You are an agent for a guy like me or a local person that wants to purchase property, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do for the purpose of this video is we're gonna stick to just foreigners and what they should be looking for in an agent, okay?
Right.
Now, we were chit-chatting a little bit earlier, and I told you that we've got a savings account for May. And I also met an attorney that's here in the building. And when we go to buy the property for May, we're gonna go through you. And so that's a whole different dynamic than if I, as a foreigner, was buying the property, correct?
Yeah.
Because she's protected. She buys the land, it's her land, that's it. I buy the property, that's not necessarily the case. Without going into all the gory details, if I buy a property with May, and we're married, we're unmarried, all these different dynamics that can factor into it, there is a likelihood that I can be booted off of the property or lose my interest in the property.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to beat that horse into the ground. We're just going to lay that out there that does, and will probably continue to keep happening, okay? So what, George, can you tell these guys, let's just pretend that I'm going to buy some property, even though I'm not. Let's just kind of pretend for this video's sake that I'm shopping around for property. I've given you my specs as to what I'm looking for. How does it work? And how do you protect me? I mean, last time we talked, you mentioned forming a corporation. Can you kind of go over that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As a general rule, only Filipino citizens can acquire real estate properties in the Philippines. So one of the ways where a foreigner could own a property just like you, Paul.
Yes.
It's my good friend here. We become
Yeah.
very good friends for like
You know what? There's like
5-10 minutes.
Yes, we have. But there's like this whole, I don't mean to take George off track, but his office is located in this whole thing, and I had no idea about where there's a Korean school, and his boss is a philanthropist from South Korea.
Yeah.
It's it's like a mini series here, just by meeting George. But anyway.
Yeah, we are in our. Thank you, Paul, for mentioning that. We are in my office where I work for a corporation, which is licensed to do a real estate thing. And so we are in this just a small office of mine. It's great to have Paul here. And I actually gave him a tour earlier.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus here in Bungao, in Kalikasan Educational Center. I'm inside here. And so, if a foreigner is planning to buy a property, so one of the things that he could do actually is to form a corporation. And so what I have said before in our first video, you have to have at least 5 incorporators. And the rule in the Philippine law is that it should be 60-40. 60 for the Filipinos, 40% for the foreigner, as can be found in our constitution. That's a protectorate something for Filipinos. So 5 incorporators, that it should be 3-2 or 4-1, something like that. So 3 Filipinos, 2 foreigners, or 4 Filipinos and a foreigner. So to set up a corporation, in order to do that, you have to go to you have to find a lawyer and ask the details about it, or you can also have a short talk with me if you want to have just a bit of background, or at least you have a knowledge of the corporation before you would like to go to a lawyer. With my experience working in the real estate company before for like 12 years, so yeah, I think I have some experience where I could help you with that, and especially that like 90% of our clients before were foreigners. So I know what is really the best way to protect the interest of my clients.
So let me ask you this. This 60-40 thing, I automatically feel in my heart that the odds are against me.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, it's the first thing came to my mind.
Yeah,
I'm a minority still. I formed this corporation and I bought this piece of land, but it's not exactly equal. How am I protected by having this corporation, George?
Well, at least in the corporation, you have this board of directors. Those Filipino partners could not just say sell the land or do something which is out of your knowledge.
Okay.
So you are always be there. You could be the president of the corporation, something like that.
I think in my small reptilian brain it's starting to make a little bit of sense. In other words, if I was just to go helter-skelter and take baby May and go buy a house, okay, and then May decides she wants to kick me out, I don't have a whole lot of recourse, do I? I mean, she's got the upper hand. Here, if somebody in the corporation wants to kick me out, I got to have a meeting with the corporation. Right. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, there should be a board resolution, just like other corporation. You can have a board meeting. You can draw a board resolution, and from there, as long as it has been attested and authorized by the board of directors, the corporate secretary, before it could be passed and could be notarized by a lawyer for that authorized person to be able to sign any document. So you will be protected in that case.
Okay. So in other words, it's not a perfect situation, but it sounds like I've got layers of protection that I
right.
don't have. Where if I just come out, because I've heard the horror stories from guys that I've met in person,
Yeah.
where they go out, they meet the girl, they fall in love, they buy the land, they build the house, the girl says split, and that's that. And
Yeah.
he's got no
Yeah.
recourse.
Yes.
Okay. Well, shame on him, first of all.
Yeah. So-
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so setting up a corporation is not an easy thing,
It's not.
It's not an easy thing. You have to, of course, find people to be members of your corporation. You could ask the lawyer's help, actually. So I will not really expound how to really set up a corporation, but I would advise Paul or any of you to go see a lawyer and ask from a lawyer's perspective of how to do things and that. But of course, I could give you my advice based on my experiences before of what happened. What's the advantages and disadvantages of setting up a corporation? The work that you have to go through. Of course, you can always hire a lawyer to work the pain in,
Yes.
something like that, the painstaking work.
Okay.
You can always use a lawyer or someone to do that for you.
Can I ask you a question? Because I know I would be thinking this. If I decided that I wanted to buy a house tomorrow and I'm going to form a corporation, I've decided to take your advice. I'm just pretending.
Yeah, yeah.
What would that cost me? Do you know?
I cannot really tell you how much is it, but yeah, I really don't know the exact amount.
Okay.
Because it usually depends with like who is your lawyer, how
Okay.
much is the fee,
Okay.
what type of corporation usually that you are going to set up.
Okay.
Yeah. With the type of corporation that you would like to have.
Okay.
So, but
Is there a ballpark number? I mean, is it $1,000 US? Is it $5,000 US? Is it? Do you have an
I think
idea?
not very very expensive with how much you can spend.
Is it mostly lawyer fees?
Yeah, lawyer's fee. The processing fee
Okay.
of setting up a corporation. It's
Okay.
usually that.
And
So,
you said it's a long process.
so it really depends with who the lawyer you are working with. If he is an expensive lawyer, or if he is the standard one or something. So it
Okay.
depends with the
Okay.
lawyer that you are working with.
Okay.
There are also other people who can help you with that. How to set up a corporation.
Okay.
I can help you with that also.
Okay.
To be able to minimize the costs.
Okay. So-
But we can, my advice is we can discuss it through face to face personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But of course we have to do it with regards to, in respect to the new normal, with the government's implementation.
Are you talking about COVID?
About COVID also. So don't worry about that. We're going to obey what the restrictions are.
So here's what I'm hearing, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I usually am. But I'm thinking that to get the ball rolling, I would contact you. Okay?
Sure.
Or a fellow like you.
Sure,
All right.
sure.
You're working for a licensed corporation.
Right.
That is a brick and mortar building that I can walk into
Yeah.
at any time. And if I have an issue, I can go over your head to your boss.
That's right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right.
Okay.
That's
There's
right.
number one.
Yeah.
That's just what goes through my mind is I always worst case scenario everything. So I can come in and I can start the conversation with you about first looking for property.
Right.
And I can describe to you what I want to buy,
Yeah.
what my budget is, and we can go and you would, I assume, go out and recommend
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
5, 10 different places. We go out together, we look at them, we check it out, and I say, okay, I like number 5. I really like this. I think it's right.
Right.
Do you get involved in the negotiation of the price with the seller and all that?
Yes, my work is really to help the seller and the buyer meet,
Okay.
and to help primarily the buyer to find the right property for them, and the seller to find the right buyer. So it is my obligation to make sure that every information, we have that disclosure of information,
Okay.
especially for the seller side, like what type of title is that?
Okay.
Is it a clean title, or is there are some encumbrances in there that could
Okay.
affect the transfer of ownership? So it is my duty and my role to really protect the buyer primarily, and also to work with the seller that both of them will be in a way wherein it's fair. I mean, it's fair for both of them.
Yeah.
So meaning, I am the type of guy who will work from day one until the consummation of the sale. I am even assisting, and I have assisted our previous clients before, where I worked for the company before, even post sales. So meaning, even after the sale, if there are things that
Post the sale,
might be of
after the
help,
sale.
after
Okay.
sales,
Okay.
after sales.
They found a coconut tree that was
service.
doing this, or a rooster was over there, or the karaoke guy was bothering them, and
Or-
you've been able to step in and help.
or related to the property, it could be of help as well. So I am really taking care of my clients. So that's really my
Now, do you show properties that you don't have listed? In other words, I keep reflecting back on what I did in America. I either had a listing or I was just working. I only worked for the buyer or the seller. I didn't work for both. Okay, so I represented one person. If I listed your house, I was totally in your corner. I was going to fight tooth and nail to get you every nickel. If I was working for the buyer, I was totally in your corner. I was going to work tooth and nail to knock off every nickel to save you as much money. Okay, so that's the kind of the role of a realtor in America. But I can't bring my American thoughts and standards here to the Philippines, because I realize that there's vast differences.
Yes.
So what? Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'll let you further explain it. But if you don't have the listing, I spot a for sale sign. And I say, hey man, I want to go, George, I like that property. Go help me out with it. So you're still, what you're saying is you're still going to be fair to the seller. You're not going to try to take advantage of them, but you're in my corner.
Yes.
You're representing me. You're a buyer's agent is what we refer to. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I can work with that also. I could, if you want me to go over and check over the property, the documents, to make sure that it's really clean and that there should be no problem in the transfer of ownership after the sale.
Okay.
So we have to do that.
So what I'm hearing is that, well, I'm interested in buying something. I can come see you. You sit down in your office and explain to you what I want to do, and then you begin the process. And it's my option to either use a lawyer or not use a lawyer. But I think it's in my benefit to use a lawyer, and I think that you've agreed with me that that's a good idea too, because we referred to it as a second opinion. If I go to a doctor and he says you've got this, I want to say, well, I want to get a second opinion. So the same with you is it not only protects me to go see a lawyer, double check the fine print, dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure all the grandkids have signed off or whatever the hell it goes on here to get a clean title. Make sure that I can go from the road to my property without being halted by someone that lives in between. Okay, because I've seen that happen. But that protects you too, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. What you're actually, it's a really good thing to do. In fact, it will really give you peace of mind. There's no bias in there, because you are also doing your part, your due diligence to go see a lawyer. In fact, in every real estate transactions that we have had before, we always involve a lawyer to make sure that all legal matters have been discussed and that there is what we call that, the interest of the buyer and the seller are well protected.
Okay.
And especially for the buyer, because you are the one spending the money.
Correct.
So you don't want to spend your money and end up into nothing in the future. So it's an investment. Every time that you buy a certain property, it is an investment.
Okay.
It is you have to think of the return of investment in the future. Okay. And it's very hard to do that if there is no assurance of the documents of the property.
That's true.
That's very, very important.
It all begins and ends with the fine print.
Yeah.
The devil is always in the details.
So, talking to a lawyer, seeing a lawyer is also a very good thing to do, because anyway, in everything that we will do from signing the agreement, we always go to the lawyer. The lawyer will check the documents, and me personally could recommend anybody who would like to buy or sell a property to a lawyer specializing in real estate.
Good.
Yeah, I have a very good friend of mine, a very good lawyer specializing in real estate, and most of his clients are foreigners.
Okay.
So he knows very well how to make sure that your interest is being protected.
Yeah. He's been there and he's done that.
Yeah.
And in other words, here's what I would want from this guy is I want the name of 3 different guys that he's done business with. I want to know the Norwegian, I want to know the British guy, and I want to know the American guy that he did business with. And I want to see if it's okay to contact those guys and say, hey, how did it go? In other words, we call that a reference.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Verify. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
And so if this lawyer has done 15, 20, 30, 50 transactions with guys like me, well, I want to talk to a couple of those guys. Now, a lot of them are going to say, no, I don't want to deal with it. It's my business. Go away. Don't bug me. But I got to figure out there, at least a couple, 3 guys would say, sure.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to him. I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give Paul later names where he could talk to and ask about the lawyer's reputation and how the lawyer was able to help them in the real estate transactions in their businesses. So so he's very good. I've known a lot of lawyers also aside from him, so I could really help people.
Awesome.
I could help take a certain buyer to this person whom he can work with well to help him. Yeah.
And you have a pretty good idea as to what a fair price is on land?
For properties.
I mean, I'm not putting you down to a number. But because I know that fluctuates. I mean, that can change with the economy. That can change with supply and demand. But I guess my general question is, can you, if they say, okay, it's so much per meter or so much per hectare or whatever it is out here, you can say, yeah, that sounds about right. Or you can say, geez, that sounds high, or that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
And if it's a great deal, it might send off a red light in your head that says, what's wrong? Why are they selling this place so cheap?
Yeah.
But you could advise me, Paul, that's really just, for a comparable property up the street, you could pay 20% less. So that's not a fair price. You'd do that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's really my job to also negotiate with the price and to tell the buyer if it's too high. In fact, before we will list the property, we have to. It is my duty to talk to the seller and say, the property owner, this property, the property's price is very high. So I already have a pre-negotiation actually before I list that property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't want to waste my time and the buyer's time as well, and also the seller's time.
No.
So you have to really tell the property owner, oh, your price is too high.
Okay.
It is not within the market.
That sounds very realistic. That sounds very American to me too, because there's always the guy that thinks his house is the most beautiful house in the block. He's got emotions invested in it. It's memories. He's emotionally or she's emotionally attached to it, or a car, or any other object. And at the end of the day, it's got a value. And just because you think it's this good, it really is this good, or maybe it is this good. I don't know. You got to talk to someone else.
Right.
So in sort of like a summary here, I'm a foreigner. I'm coming in to buy a house or land or a business or whatever. I come in and talk to you. I can feel assured of myself that you're working here in a real live office, that you answer to another guy. He's properly incorporated, licensed to sell real estate here. You're his authorized agent. You're going to go out and do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Once you've done all that and we've signed everything and we've looked it over and we've formed a corporation because we decided that was the best way to protect my interest. Now, that's not the only way to buy, but it's, in your mind, that's probably the best way for a foreigner to be protected. Is that correct?
And there are also other ways where you can buy a property, which is easier than a corporation. But I've been in a discussion with lawyers as well as with my experience. And I can also help you with that. No, I cannot go into details in this video, but I can assure you if we will meet in the future, I could also advise you other ways where you can minimize your expenses, less work and everything. Yeah.
Okay, but you feel that the protection level is highest with the corporation?
Yeah, it could also act as a protection as same thing with the corporation as well. Yeah. But you know, corporation is also always the main thing to do.
Okay.
But there are all other ways as well. Yeah.
But it's difficult for you to go into details, especially on video,
Yes.
about law or legal advice or
Yeah,
anything like that, because there's all kinds of repercussions.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that's why we always refer to a lawyer for that. Yeah, because lawyers are authorized and we have been studying the law and everything. Yeah.
All right. So this is what I want you to touch upon with these guys and verify for me, is that there are, the reason that I like George, well, personally, I just like him as a human being. But number two, a guy like George, a guy that has an office, a guy that can, like, it's above us, take my word on it. There's a mayor's permit, there's a BIR permit. He's got the necessary documents here, proving that he's registered and he's legal and that he's an actual brick and mortar business. But there are guys that are running around that pretend they are real estate agents, and that is rampant out here in the Philippines. I got the same guy trying to sell me the same piece of property for 3 years now, because he just sees me as a foreigner. He always runs after my motorbike when he sees me and says, "Hey, you want to buy some land?" That's a true story. He's here in Valencia. And but can you touch on that a little bit? I mean, I think that we've kind of educated ourselves a little bit as to what a foreigner would want to look at when coming in. Obviously, again, being a little redundant, a brick and mortar building, a business card, a website, something you can verify, someone that advises you to see an attorney before you sign and finalize what a fair price is. But what about these guys that just, like, I know of a couple that they want to represent the seller or the buyer. That's a problem out here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think anywhere in the Philippines, that's the common thing, usual thing. With respect to these guys, I have lots of good friends also doing real estate who acts as an agent, even though they are not attached to any of the real estate office. Some of them are really doing good. They are honest person. I also my hats off to them who really did a nice job and honest. The advantage that I see if you are going to approach an office is that you can always go after them if there's going to be a problem in the future. You know, that's the advantage that I can see to that, because you know it's recognized by the government, it's authorized by the government, so you can always take legal action against these people if there might a problem that will arise in the future, because it's very hard to just track them. They have an office, something like that, versus someone who doesn't have an office, so it's hard to trace them. But again, I respect those people who are working honestly. Yeah, they're
Let me put my 2 cents worth in. I don't give advice. That's why I talk to guys like you so you can. But my own advice to myself is, if I was approached by someone or I saw a for sale sign and someone said, yeah, I'm the representative of this, I would find it upon my due diligence for me to say, well, let's go to your office and talk it over. And if I go to his house where his wife's cooking chicken, I'm not all that impressed.
Right.
I mean, even though I know you have friends that maybe they don't have an office, they're good guys, and they're honest, but how do you verify that?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean,
I agree with you.
thanks. I mean, sometimes it's the nicest, sweetest looking people that will just rip your heart out.
That's right.
And they're the best at it because they're just so sweet looking, and they just seem so nice. And sometimes it's the hardcore, obnoxious guy that's actually your best friend in all this. You don't like him or her personally because they're just kind of like, you know, you don't want to be around them. But that's just their personalities, you know? So I guess the bottom line, what you're saying to folks, they're coming out here, and we'll put a link to your page and your phone number and your name and all that. If guys want to talk to you personally, we have shameless promotion here on the Old Dog Channel.
Thank you, folks.
They know it by now. I mean, if Baby May was in, she'd be jumping in doing a commercial for her channel. But anyway, we'll put all that information in. But I hope it was helpful for you guys. You know, it was helpful for me. And the reason why is that, like I said, all transparency here, I'm never ever going to buy anything out here. I don't like to own stuff. I don't like to be held down. But I do have a savings account, or May has a savings account, and I'm trying to funnel, you know, funds to that. And it's her dream one day to own a piece of land, and I think that's extremely important for her to have that. Everybody needs a place to call home. No matter what, you're going to need a roof over your head.
That's right.
And if you own it free and clear, and no matter how good or how bad your income goes, at least you can go to sleep and you're protected from the rain and the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think that's a number one thing for people,
right.
especially young people, to have, own, free and clear, no encumbrances, all of that. I think it's important for foreigners when they come out here to realize, I'll speak for myself. I would never enter into one of these transactions with a lawyer. I could form a corporation, have it dotted over, the lawyer looked at it, and you know what? I would still have to be prepared to walk away from it, even though I've done all these wonderful things, because I'm in a foreign country. And in a foreign country, things can change. And as an American citizen, I have certain inalienable rights. Here, I don't have any. And so if there's a regime change, a new president comes in, a new Congress or whatever you guys have out here comes in and starts to amend laws and make everything that I just did void, then what voice do I have, you know? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Are you still growing vegetables over on the farm?
Yes, we're still growing. It's rainy season, so it's the best time to plant. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? You're a great guy. You're a nice guy. All my viewers really loved your last video with me. And so I hope this information was good. I don't usually do these kind of videos, but I was so impressed with you that I wanted to do like a little infomercial about your business. And hopefully these guys got a little bit of information from it, because I always make it my business not to get into your business. And I always make it, I never give advice, but if someone that knows something about something can advise you guys, I like to talk to them. So we will put a link to George's webpage, his phone number, the proper spelling of his name, contact information. You guys have any questions or anything, they can reach out to you, huh?
Yes.
All
Thank you so
right.
much, Paul.
All right,
You're a good friend of mine. The best guy in Valencia.
Oh, no. You just lost half the audience. They know you're lying. I'll see you later, guys.
Thank you.